How's it going? Welcome to Sunny Sheets. I'm Carson, and we're back with another book chat. Today, I would like to talk about Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. Look at that cover. It is this edition. Well, I don't know if there's any other editions. It's a pretty new book, but it is absolutely stunning. This is one of the most beautiful books I have. I love the cover art for this book. It's so pretty. Yeah, we're here to talk about Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. I want to preface with the spoiler-free section. I don't want to say much in the spoiler-free section because this is a book that I really, truly think you should go into blind. This is such a unique, fantastical book, and I really think you ought to go into this blind. So I don't want to reveal much in the spoiler-free section. I'll just explain what the book is. Like, what would you read on the back of the book? Piranesi is our protagonist for this story, and Piranesi lives in this really strange house. It is a infinitely expanding house with dozens upon dozens of halls that are all lined with statues. There are 3 different floors, and the bottom floor has tides. It has basically its own ocean and water system and waves underneath with crustaceans and sea life. There's a top level that has clouds. The sky is pure black with celestial bodies when you peer out the windows. It is just a wondrous, fantastical, liminal house that Piranesi lives by himself, except for once a week he has a meeting with someone named the Other, where they have these meetings to discuss the Other's research, and Piranesi is sort of a helper to the Other, to help him collect information that will further the Other's scientific research. So that's essentially what you're going to read on the back of the book. The only other thing I really want to say is that this book is so unique in the atmosphere, in the place that we reside within the story, within the POV and the structure in which the story is told. Normally when I recommend books, I'm not a big believer in just recommending a book to anyone. I'm very big on asking people what their tastes are, what do you like, what are you into, and try to recommend books very specifically based on their interest. But if you're a fantasy reader and you're looking to just sort of just to expand your tastes or to broaden the type of stuff you read and you want to try something different, I really think any fantasy reader should check this book out. It is so unique, it's so whimsical, it's so brilliant, so just imaginative, and it was a joy to read, truly. I will never forget the imagery of this book, because I'm a very visual reader. Most books I read have particular scenes and environments that I remember. Even some of the more basic ones, like Relic, where it's just a fictionalized museum in New York, like kind of a basic setting, but I still remember how I felt being within that place. This book, I will never forget. I will never forget the setting and the environment that was crafted here, because it is truly one of a kind. It was such an imaginative place to be within. I guess as per my normal structure for the book chats, I'll go ahead and give my rating because I don't want to say anything else for the spoiler-free section. I really think you ought to just go into this completely blind. I don't want to give any kind of expectations for the book. So I gave this book a wholehearted 8.5 out of 10. Just a great book, imaginative, creative, and if you want to hear more of my thoughts, I'm just going to be basically doing all of that in the spoiler section, because again, there's just not much I want to say here in the spoiler-free. I want to leave it. I want to leave people, if they're watching this and they're thinking about reading it, I want to leave it. I want to leave it vague. I want to leave it. I don't want to have said much. So yeah, this was kind of a unique book chat because normally in the spoiler-free section I can at least give expectations and what to expect for this book, but I really just didn't want to do that with Piranesi because it's not super long of a book and it's so different, and I think it's a book that is better read with no expectations. But now that we're in the spoiler section, I can give a lot more of my thoughts and I talk so highly of this book. Why it wasn't a perfect score and stuff like that. I loved this book, but I think my expectations just took it away from being a perfect score, a perfect read for me, because I was anticipating the plot, or at least like the antagonism, being more environmental. I really did not expect the turn that it took with Piranesi being a sort of slave to these occultists who discovered this world. I did like that. I mean, it added a really sinister tone to it and all of the dead bodies that Piranesi watched over. And I think like towards the ending it sort of redeemed. But in the middle of the book, I did have this feeling of, I don't want to focus on this Lawrence guy, and I don't want to really focus on these other people. I was expecting this to be a purely person versus environment story. I'm not really sure how that would have gone, but I guess I wanted the whole book to be a complete further and further exploration of this magical world. But it felt like you got that world a third of the way through, and then it was like, okay, you know the house, and now we're going to talk about these people that exist in the real Earth world, and giving context about who they were and their, like Lawrence, his occult studies, how he found this world, giving you context on the people within his circle that went missing because of him basically enslaving these people to gain information within the halls of the liminal world. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I wanted the focus to be more. I wanted further and further exploration of the halls, and Piranesi to overcome some kind of force within, maybe like some kind of like dangerous animal or something. I don't know. It's just something about the house. I'm not quite sure, but I think the way that the book headed with those sinister undertones kind of swung it back to me, because that was pretty powerful. That was a really powerful. Those are some powerful emotions to sit with. It was kind of gut-wrenching when Piranesi learns that his only friend, the other, is the one that directly enslaved him in here. That was pretty gut-wrenching, because Piranesi is such a kind character, is so sweet. He looks after the remains of the skeletons and of all the dead bodies. He even leaves a letter where he says, if you are dead and your soul is watching, I'm taking care of you. If you're a soul and I have not found your remains, I will do my best to find them, and when I do, I will collect the remains and bring them to where the others are and ensure that you're cared for. Like, Piranesi's just such a sweet person. And to see him being enslaved by someone so sinister as Dr. Ketterly is... And then even furthermore, when all of this is done, when Ketterly is killed in the flood, Piranesi still... Or even before that, like when Piranesi has learned what Ketterly has done to him, he still doesn't want Ketterly to die. He's like, yo, get on the raft, get on the boat, like, save yourself. And then even when Ketterly dies, Piranesi still goes to find his remains, tries to put it in a place where the tides will wash away the skin and the dirty flesh and take his bones, and he still respects his bones in the same way that he does all of the others. Like, Piranesi is just such a kind soul. And I don't know, it just broke my heart, man. I was not expecting the book to take such a dive like that. I really was not expecting that. And I actually thought, like, when I read the description, I really didn't think there were any humans in this book at all, because on the cover of the book you've got a satyr. And so I actually thought that was Piranesi, but it's actually just a statue. And when I kept hearing the other, I actually thought it was just some sort of like metaphysical entity. I didn't know it was just like, I didn't know they were just humans, just people. So I guess what I'm trying to say is my expectations of the book were a lot more metaphysical than it being like just a separate place within just the real world of Earth that humans went into. So I think it was just a slight bit of an expectation thing. To wrap up this discussion on Piranesi, I would like to talk about what I believe the theme of the book was, which is having admiration and respect for the natural world and what's around you. There's actually a bit of wisdom that I have in my journal that I wrote down months ago. It's actually one of my favorite quotes in general. It's something that I try to live by. But I kept thinking about this quote because I think it just represents the book, or the theme of the Book of Piranesi so well. Paying attention is a form of reciprocity with the living world. Receiving the gifts with open eyes and open hearts, by a Robin Wall Kimmerer. This was a quote I found online. I'm unfamiliar with this person. But yeah, basically this quote is saying that to reciprocate, to show gratitude for the gifts of the living world, you can just pay attention. Just look up at the sky and say, wow, those clouds and the beautiful blue sky is beautiful. Look at the way that the leaves dance in the wind. Look at the way that sunlight reflects off of the water. You know, just paying attention. And that's what Piranesi does throughout the entire book. Piranesi is enamored with the house. Even after he has discovered that he actually is just a human from Earth and has been enslaved, he still has so much love and respect for the house. He actually even gets offended by Raphael at the end of the book, because Raphael looks at some statues of the mountains and she's like, you know, in the real world we have these massive mountains and such, but here there's only a representation of it. And Piranesi's like, only? That's a word kind of implying inferiority, like, don't disrespect the house. And she's like, oh, my apologies. And I don't know, I just couldn't help but, you know, Piranesi has so much love and admiration for the house that he lived in. And I feel like that's what this book is trying to say. And also separately, the whole way that the occultist Lawrence got into, like, how he discovered the means to get to this world, was this sort of like anthropological study of the fact that the ancients used to have such a connection with the world that they could seemingly control the environment with their will because they were so connected to it. And then once humanity began to industrialize and just become more evolved and all of that, we lost that touch with the environmental world and that ability was shut off. And Lawrence kind of has a quote about that. And Lawrence says that as humanity evolved, they were all enamored with the idea of progress and believed that whatever was new must be superior to what was old, as if merit was a function of chronology. Basically saying that people falsely believed that what was new and what was revolutionized is better, which most likely isn't the case. And I feel that really feels in the modern world, all of this modernization and automation and tech and AI. Is it really superior than being rooted with people and being rooted with pen and paper and being rooted with one another? I don't know. Okay, that's beside the point. I'm not trying to get too deep, but this book is deep. Honestly, I don't know. This was such a unique book. That this book was crafted beautifully. Was such a visual treat. I will never forget the halls. I will never forget the choral. I will never forget Piranesi feeding off of the crustacean life within a marble mansion pond. I will never forget him drinking water that hours ago came from a cloud. I will never forget the vision of him looking through a window and seeing nothing but black and shimmering stars and celestial bodies. So what am I reading next? Well, I mean, I should stop saying what am I reading next, because with the way that the timing works, I've already started it, but I'm reading Cold Silver for Souls by Tori Tekken, who is actually a fellow booktuber. This is the first book that I have read by a fellow booktuber. Her channel will be in the description. You should check her out if you've never watched her videos. She's awesome. But yeah, I started Cold Silver for Souls, which is it's the first book in her Shade Silver book series, which is it's a fantasy western, which is super sick, super dope. I'm already loving it, so give that a check out. It's super new. It dropped, I think, in late May. The book had come out, so yeah, give it a check out. If you made it to this point in the video, thanks for hanging with me. Don't leave just yet. You don't have to watch, but keep your ears peeled, because as per tradition, we're going to read some kind of book excerpt, some kind of book quote. Boring means no war, no fighting. It means the ghosts of those my blade bloodied won't come back to dance. Gunmetal Gods by Zamil Akhtar. Thanks for hanging.